I would like to call to order the Monroe County Solid Waste Management District's meeting of September 23rd. And this is the Board of Directors meeting. Mr. McGlasson, as the first thing to do, let's call the roll, please.
Munson,
Yes.
Thomas,
Yes.
Githens,
Here.
Hamilton, Piedmont Smith,
Please note some of these people may not have been unmuted yet.
working on it.
Mr. Swafford's also not been unmuted yet.
Here.
Thank you. Jones,
Here.
Swafford.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. Thank you, members, for being here. I'd like to welcome the many members of the public who are attending this meeting. And I count 70 participants. And many of the participants, as I've looked through names, are joining us for the first time at a solid waste management district meeting. So the important thing is that we have a good understanding of how this meeting will proceed. I'd also like to welcome representatives of Rumpke Waste and Recycling, whose request of the board will be addressed today, and who are here to answer questions or provide clarification. We have a full agenda today and a full house, including people who may wish to make public comment. So let me lay out how we will proceed. For agenda items involving resolutions, and that will be our first order of business, there will be an opportunity for public comment after the board makes their comments and before the board takes a vote. There is also another opportunity for public comment at the end of the meeting. In both cases, I will ask attendees if anyone wishes to comment, and if you do, please signify your wish by using the Zoom's raise hand symbol in the participants link. On my laptop.
Sorry to interrupt. It will actually be under the reactions one.
In the reactions link? Okay, thank you. On my laptop, the reactions link is at the bottom of the screen.
Actually, that's just for clapping or thumbs up. The raise hand is when you get your list of participants up. Then
that's what I
So
thought.
the participants. Sorry,
Okay.
I can't ever see it because I'm always a host and they just don't let me look at it.
Okay, so it's definitely in the raise hand link is definitely in the participant slot. And on my laptop, this is at the bottom of the Zoom screen. I'll call on someone with a raised hand signal and they will be unmuted by our technical services department or Mr. Scott Morgan of the district staff. When you are unmuted, you will have 3 minutes to speak. Please begin your comments by stating your full name for the record and pay attention to the tone that technical services will play to signal the end of your 3-minute comment. So other agenda items for today are an interlocal cooperation agreement regarding legal services, 2 sets of minutes, the controller's report, department reports, public comment, as I mentioned before, scheduling the next meeting, and comments of directors. I'd like to begin our meeting by clarifying that the resolution, which is our first order of business, does not pertain to a proposed landfill, as there have been comments in text messages and on Facebook about this. It is for a waste and recycling transfer station. It is also not for a material recovery facility or MRF. That's another point of confusion. It is for a transfer station at the location of a previously planned trucking facility, which had already been permitted because it met zoning requirements. And the property additionally was partly prepared to be the base station for many semi-trucks. It is also not a resolution to permit Rumpke's proposed resource recovery facility. This board does not have the authority to issue such permits. That is the responsibility of the Indiana Department of Environmental Management, or IDEM. Before Rumpke's request for a permit can be considered by IDEM, the company must present their proposal to the county commissioners and the county planning department as regards zoning requirements. At all these steps, the public will be able to comment. The Solid Waste Management District's board role in this process is to take the first step. It is a step along a very narrow path. It is for a decision as to whether the proposed project is needed and is consistent with the district's solid waste management plan. Again, this is not approval of a permit, but approval of meeting needs and being consistent. The requirement of the Solid Waste District Board to address need and consistency was set out in county ordinance in 2007. The Rumpke proposal is our first opportunity to meet this charge, but we did not have criteria for evaluating need and consistency. This board developed the criteria in a resolution passed at our August 13th meeting. The staff of the district then researched and prepared data for a detailed memorandum addressing those criteria we approved. And that report is included in today's meeting packet, along with Rumpke's proposal and additional information. The executive committee of the board, namely City Council member Isabel Piedmont Smith and County Commissioner Penny Githens and myself, reviewed the staff's report and prepared an amended resolution for the board's consideration, which we wish to bring to the board and the public today. We will start with the resolution as the first item on our agenda. Ms. Piedmont Smith, would you please read the resolution as amended?
Yes, I move resolution 2020-11. Monroe County Solid Waste Management District determination of need and solid waste management plan consistency regarding the proposed Rumpke Monroe County Resource Recovery Facility. Would you like me to read the whole resolution?
I think that's useful because it lays out points that demonstrate need and consistency.
Very good. All right, whereas the Monroe County Solid Waste Management District is a political subdivision and a solid waste management district under Indiana Code 13-21-3, and whereas the district has adopted a solid waste management plan as required by Indiana Code 13-21-5, and whereas Monroe County Ordinance 2007-18 and Monroe County Code Chapter 360-2 requires that an applicant proposing the creation of a solid waste management facility that requires a state permit or registration must present written certification from the district that the proposed facility is needed and is consistent with the district's solid waste management plan. And that must go to the Board of Commissioners prior to submitting the application for the state permit or registration required. And whereas the District Board of Directors established criteria to use to make said determination of need and consistency with the district's solid waste management plan via Resolution 2020-06 on August 13th, 2020. And whereas the district has received a request from Rumpke Waste and Recycling for written certification of need and solid waste management plan consistency as called for by Ordinance 2007-18 and in Monroe County Code Chapter 360-2 for the proposed Rumpke Monroe County Resource Recovery Facility. And whereas the District Board of Directors has reviewed the documents submitted by Rumpke Waste and Recycling concerning the proposed facility, and also statistics, data, and information compiled by district staff utilizing the criteria established in Resolution 2020-06 concerning the proposed facility and solid waste management in general in Monroe County, Indiana. And whereas the district board concludes the proposed facility provides an opportunity to reduce vehicle emission by transporting waste a shorter distance to a final disposal facility. And whereas the district board concludes the proposed facility provides needed redundancy for Monroe County should the one current facility be unable to operate or otherwise accept waste and/or recyclable materials. And whereas the district board concludes the proposed facility's ability to process and bale segregated recyclable materials for direct shipment to end users will provide more efficient and cost-effective management of those materials. And whereas the district board concludes that the proposed facility's stated commitment to glass recycling and Rumpke's stated intent to have the proposed facility serve as a glass recycling hub will promote and encourage collection of segregated glass for recycling and provide more efficient and cost-effective management of this material. Now, therefore, the District Board of Directors hereby resolves that the proposed Rumpke Monroe County Resource Recovery Facility is determined to be needed and is consistent with the district solid waste management plan. And furthermore, it is resolved that this adopted resolution shall serve as the written certification called for in Monroe County Ordinance 2007-18 and Monroe County Code Chapter 360-2.
Thank you. Thank you. We have a motion and a second. And now it is time for board members to ask questions or offer comments. Would you raise your hand so we can proceed with this?
Thomas has her hand up.
Thank you. Ms. Thomas?
Hey, I'm really heartened to see this. I'm really glad that this was brought forward. I think that in addition to the issues already outlined and the clarification that this is not a landfill, this is going to be like a big rural site from what I can tell, based on all of their plans. And there's a couple of things that have been discussed that that I think are important for the public to know as well, which I think are beneficial for the public. And first is that they have mentioned the ability to have a consumer-facing recycling depot, so that this is in essence adding a rural site to our already existing network of rural sites. And if that can happen, that would be fabulous. And the other thing is that, yes, competition is a really good thing. And we're hemmed in on with a contract right now, but those contracts, both for, well, all three, hauling, disposal, and recycling, and the host fee, all of these have end dates on them. What I was really heartened to see in their presentation last time that Rumpke had made a verbal commitment to work with us on a host fee proposal. And all of these things benefit Monroe County residents and taxpayers to a great extent. So I'm really happy that we're considering this today, and I appreciate the executive committee and the staff for putting this together and working with Rumpke. They've been great to work with, and they've given us a lot of information that we've asked for. So I'm really, really happy to see this, and I appreciate all the hard work. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Piedmont Smith's hand is raised.
Yes, thank you. While I was reading the resolution, I caught what I think is a typo in the new version that was sent out via email yesterday. And let's see, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's in the 6 whereas clause, where it says resolution 220-06. That should be resolution 2020-06.
Thank you. I
So
caught that.
Can that be made, Mr. McGlasson?
The version I pulled, the which whereas? Oh, I see. I was the wrong whereas. I'm sorry. Yes. If the board wishes to make that amendment, we can make that happen.
Just a Scrivener's error.
It's a Scrivener's error. We can do that without an amendment.
Okay, correction is made.
Thank you, Ms. Piedmont Smith.
I also have a question, if I may.
Please go on.
So this is a question for Rumpke. I don't know if Mr. Nura is here or who is here to represent Rumpke, but I just would like to know, will the prices for tipping recyclables be less than the prices for tipping solid waste?
Yeah, I've got Steve. This is Ted Nura with Rumpke Recycling. I've got Steve Sargent, who is the director of recycling for Rumpke, on the phone as well, or in the Zoom meeting. I would say the short answer is this, is that we want to bring the most competitive solutions we can to the marketplace. And we think there's an opportunity to reduce the cost to the district directly for the source separated materials. Steve, if you'd like to talk to that directly.
Mr. Sargent, there we go.
We good?
Yes.
Great. Okay. I can try to answer that. We're going to deal with many forms of material coming into the facility. One of the focuses we've had from the very beginning was to work with the solid waste district on their material coming in, because it somewhat comes in an aggregate form, but that material can be broken out. It's actually broken out now into cardboard streams, newspaper, and all that. You currently are being charged in your contract for that. We feel very confident today we will be providing a reimbursement for that material because it's already been separated. It has a value to it. That's why we want to go ahead and install the baling operation in our phase 2 that we're committing to with the beginning of the program. So all that stream would be at an advantage on the economic side. The glass is now currently being hauled, to your Indianapolis, to a vendor in Indianapolis, and Rumpke would be bringing that material to the recycling hub, the glass hub, at the location. So the material would not need to be transferred. We still think there's a value to that material, and we would also look at covering the cost of that material to get it into the facility. So with that, I think it's true. There's no question recyclables are a commodity. They go up and down with the markets. But we look at that as a consolidated service. Recycling is very important to us, and we're going to need to bring that material in. And I think as we've looked at, there would be an economic advantage to that.
Yeah, and I would say, to maybe answer the question directly, Isabel, under today's market, recyclables received at that facility would come in at a lower cost than disposal. So whether it's the citizens, the district, commercial users, it'll all come in at a lower cost than the cost of disposal.
Thank you.
And if I may elaborate a little bit, we've talked a lot through this journey about an integrated approach, integrated offering to the businesses, the institutions, the residents of the community. We strive to lower the cost of recycling. Steve and I were talking about that earlier today, make it more affordable so we can increase participation throughout the community. Thank you for the opportunity to talk.
Thank you. Other board members, do you have questions or comments? I am Ms. Piedmont Smith again. You're not an other.
Sorry, do you want to go ahead, Ms. Munson?
No.
I just want to address something that Ms. Thomas said. at our executive committee meeting last Thursday, we did talk about the possibility of having a consumer accessible site to bring waste and recyclables at the Rumpke facility. And it was my impression from that conversation that Rumpke is interested in partnering with the district. They're not interested in being the direct consumer face for having a drop-off site, but if the district wanted to partner with them and run a drop-off site, then they are open to that. And that if anybody wants to elaborate, that's fine. But I wanted to clarify because it doesn't sound like people would just be able to come there and drop off their recyclables unless further, decisions are made down the line.
That is correct. That the community drop-off area referenced in the proposal is a space at the proposed facility that Rumpke has identified that could be used for that, and they would look to partner with the district and have the district actually set that up and operate that facility or that area of the facility.
So I'm looking for other hands from board members. And seeing none, I will turn now to public comment on the resolution. The first person to raise hands was Lindsay.
Can I ask, is there a time limit on
Yes,
each participant's comments?
It's 3 minutes. And Lindsay, I'll ask you to state your full name for the record. How are we doing?
Lindsay, you should be able to unmute yourself now.
Hi, I'm Lindsay Alexander. I'm a resident of Clear Creek. And I have a question for the board, which is everyone is reiterating that this isn't a landfill. And I'm wondering if you can talk about what it will include, because just having learned about this issue and hearing that it's sorry, my son is very talkative. And hearing that it's a site that will have solid trash and recycling at it, it kind of seems like a semantics issue as a resident, because I'm like, okay, well, it's a place that's full of trash and recycling. And I'm worried about it affecting property values and potentially smell. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. McGlasson, would you like to address that point?
Well, I might offer that it may be better to have somebody from Rumpke address that if you would like.
Okay.
That question is their facility.
Mr. Nura?
Here we go. Be a little patient with me as I try to navigate Zoom here, but hey, great question. I think a couple things were brought up relative to the operating facility. Will it have odors? The short answer is no. We're required by law to control those odors. The waste and recyclables will be dumped inside. It'll all be moved in and out daily. So it's not a repository, as it were. It's not a landfill. There won't be an accumulation of waste or recyclables on site of any significance. So as far as property values go, that's a broader question. We spent a lot of time looking at where to site this facility in the community, and there's a lot of considerations. I look out, what's best for the broader community. Is the land use appropriate? Is it available? Does it have access to highways? And what are like the surrounding uses? And as you know, this property is kind of tucked up right against 37, State Route 37. It's next to the wastewater treatment plant. And has significant industrial facilities, majority of the way around the property. So we looked long and hard to try to find a good location for the broader community, and think this fits right in with the comprehensive plan and the surrounding uses. So thank you for the question.
Thank you, Mr. Nura. There are two people with their hands raised. Denise
Cheryl?
Rob,
Sorry, can I interrupt real quick? I just wanted to let you know that so that members of the public know there will be a tone when there are 30 seconds left. I will demonstrate that now.
thank you. So I'm not able to unmute Denise Robertson, who is the next person to speak.
Good afternoon. My name is Denise Robertson, and I also have concerns. I live in the distinctive area of this landfill. I'm very aware of all of its surroundings very well. My concern is this. We have replaced that road for some ungodly reason a couple of times just in the last 3 years. With the excess movement of these trucks and the required larger trucks to disperse these things in the directions that they go for their destination, who's going to pay for these roads as they break down again? There's 2 bridges there. They need repairs already. My biggest concern is the traffic is going to back up. We've got I-69 there. And it's really going to be a hindrance for us. Although we can pass over from 37 to Old 37 and go into town that way, with the rerouting and all the workings on the road, it's really going to slow us down and hinder us. Do they have any plans on making things better in that area? Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Nura, would you like to address this question?
Sure. No, I absolutely will. Christina Siebert, she's with us. She's with Aptum. She's a consulting firm that's with us today. She'll talk a little bit about, the permitting process as we move forward and how we will review traffic. There'll be some traffic studies done. As you know, Denise, the site was permitted for a trucking operation. It's a permitted use at this location, and one was coming into this location as we speak. So, Christina, if you want to just take a few minutes and kind of share with her thoughts.
Absolutely. Thank you, Denise. I'm glad you asked the question. As Ted mentioned, we are going to be doing some traffic studies as part of moving this project forward. When we get to the conditional use permit process with the Board of Zoning Appeals, we will have to do a comprehensive traffic study. And the county's highway engineer also has informed us that we need to do a pavement analysis. They will be looking at whether the weight and type of trucks that we are bringing in are going to be able to be handled on the roads without having a detrimental impact. And if there are upgrades that are required, that's going to be discussed as part of that process. Other issues in area roadways related to intersection suitability and whether there's going to be too much traffic backup or impact to the area traffic that already exists, traffic like yours as you're going to and from town, also is going to be looked at. We have to do traffic counts. We have to look at whether the space that's available to park these trucks or stop these trucks at intersections, if that's going to have backups. So we haven't done all of that work yet. This is a multiple step process, so we will be doing that. If there are deficiencies in that portion of the process, we are going to have to work with the county to determine how to mitigate those.
Thank you. The next person is Claire Quimby.
Hi, I was just going to ask about traffic and what this was going to do to traffic, but it sounds like that's still a thing to be studied based on the last response. Is that right?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Yes, I'm sorry. Yes, more analysis will be completed as we move through the permitting process. I might add that, this facility, we're going to be serving the community broadly. Some of the traffic, majority of the traffic probably already exists and is moving through this intersection. Some of it goes to the competing facility today in the marketplace. So also, the hours of operations are really going to be limited. We don't, we're not going to be running around the clock. We don't think it's going to be a material significant increase in traffic moving through that intersection on State Route 37 and Victor Pike. So thank you.
Thank you. Other questions? So there are several here, and I'd like to announce that the last item of public comment at the end, toward the end of the agenda, is for questions that are really not covered by today's agenda. So if you wish to speak about the facility, the time to do that is now. The next speaker will be Mark Kerr.
Ms. Munson, if I could interject real fast too, and I just to make people aware that, and not to discount anybody's questions or concerns, but what the district has been tasked with is considering the need of the facility for the community and whether or not it's consistent with our planning philosophies and goals. And you know, issues related to the proposed facility that would be more, fall under a zoning ordinance, issues, concerns with county highway department, the health department, those are not germane to the tasks that the district has, and aren't really things that are considered for the decision being made at this time. Sorry for the interjection. Mr. Kerr is next.
Hopefully that will help focus questions. Mr. Kerr.
Yes, I would like to, request that this facility also be available for that occasional truckload of non-recyclable stuff that I end up with every year. I've used the other competing facility that's just a little bit down the road from there. That facility is kind of a nightmare to navigate, and the people there are rude and uncooperative and unhelpful. So it would be very nice to have another facility where the public can take their occasional large load of non-recyclable trash items too. So if that's possible, that would be fantastic.
Thank you. Mr. or Miss Mr. and Miss Ekberg is the next speaker.
Yeah, the traffic that will be coming. Well, let me ask you this: why do we need this?
Could you please state your full name for the record?
Yes.
It's John. I'm sorry. It's John Ekberg, and I live on that road. So perhaps you can answer that question. Why do we need this?
The points of the resolution that address need, excuse me, are redundancy in facilities, the improved management of recyclables and the benefit towards the district and the public. And I'm just reading from the resolution to make sure I have these. Rumpke's commitment to glass recycling and to have the proposed facility serve as a glass recycling hub, thereby reducing our costs for recycling. Reduction of vehicle emissions for transporting waste and recycling over shorter distances to a final facility. And board members, that was a quick read.
Thank you for that. Will the traffic that comes to this site be from a multi-county region?
I'll turn that to Mr. Nura.
trying to get, there we go. Sorry about that. Our primary service area is going to be Monroe County. It gets awful rural pretty fast as you move away from Monroe County. So that's really our primary service area. I think there's some folks that are trying to sensationalize the service area a little bit. We do anticipate that there may be some, we'll collect recyclables based from some of the border perimeter sides of the county, but it'll be modest by comparison. Our primary service area is in fact county.
Thank you.
If I may, the nature of the traffic is likely to change. For instance, it will have a greater ratio of heavy duty trucks coming to that juncture than it would have in the past because glass that needed to be recycled from northeastern Monroe County will now be on a truck bound for southern Monroe County. You say it'll have limited hours. Does that mean 8 to 5, 5 days a week? Does that mean 1 to 3 days a week? Could you go into some specifics on that?
Sure. The facility itself, I don't think we posted the final hours, but it'd be similar to what Republic's operations are there locally. Pretty much a 5-day-a-week operation, single shift, maybe 10 hours a day, and then a half a day on Saturday.
Could you speak to the nature of the truck traffic? Will there be a greater ratio of truck to vehicle in that region than might have existed before its existence?
Well, I mean, as discussed earlier, this facility or this property was already slated for a trucking company to come in there. So relative to, what I generally understand about the proposal was that there would be about 40 to maybe 50 trucks running out of that location. There'll be some employee vehicles coming in. We don't anticipate running a trucking operation that's much more than maybe say 15 to 20 trucks out of that location. So it actually might be a little less in terms of the overall number of trucks based there. There will be vehicle traffic moving in and out.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The next speaker will be EB. And EB, would you please state your full name?
Yes, it's Eric Baker.
Thank you.
I have a question about the location of the site, and I don't know if it's this committee's purview, but what do we know about what the site's use was, and if there are any materials in the soil or any other concerns about the previous use of the site, and if it's used for this activity, what the implications will be later on if it's realized that there were pollutants kind of in the history of the site itself.
Thank you. Who would like to address this question?
I would just say that that's really an IDEM question and a planning question, and both of those will be addressed.
Thank you, Ms. Thomas. The next question is from Chris Cioli. I don't know if I pronounced your name right. Please tell us your full name.
My name is Chris Cioli. I live on National Point Road. So my question, I think it was stated that this location was for the broader good of the community. It seems like this corner of town is where all the dumping, recycling is taking place. So is it being stated that the southwest corner of Monroe County is then going to be the sewage treatment, landfill, transfer station, recycling hub of Monroe County? and what other locations were considered or are being considered as part of this rather than just that southwest corner.
Okay. I believe that question is first for Mr. Nura.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
There we go. Sorry about that. As I mentioned earlier, you have to look at when you cite facilities of this nature, there's a lot of considerations that go into it. You have to look at land availability. You have to look at the appropriate use of the property. And if I may peel that back a little bit, that involves zoning. Is the property consistent with the comprehensive plan that Monroe County has laid out for land development? Is it part of a designated community as defined by that comprehensive plan? And then you're looking at access to a highway. You want the property obviously to be accessible, and so those are three primary criteria in which we reviewed as we moved through the county. There's just not a lot of available property. Number one, that meet that criteria of being zoned heavy industrial and is consistent with the comprehensive plan and doesn't have already a competing use on it. So it really is a bit of a process. It's not easy to do. No matter what site you in a community, there's always going to be nearby people. And so you try to look and match the county's requirements with availability and with accessibility. So that's how it was approached.
Would you agree though that the original designation of a trucking company is different than the proposal of a recycling facility? Trucking is trucking, but the intended end user is quite different.
I've been in the industry for almost 30 years, and I will tell you that as you look at a waste recycling and trucking operation like we have and like we're proposing here, actually the uses are very similar. You're just managing vehicles in and out. If I may say it in simple terms, all we're doing is repackaging and separating. You've got in vehicles moving the material in and moving it out. I would say that it's a lot like a trucking company in many respects. That's what people will see predominantly. They're not going to smell it. It's not going to be that type of operation. So thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker.
Sorry. So the rest of my question, I think it was more for the board though, is what other locations in Monroe County were considered, if any?
That is actually not up to us. We just accept a proposal and we review it not for location, but for whether it meets our waste management plan and whether we can determine a need for the facility. We don't have any say over the location.
So thank you, Ms. Piedmont Smith. As I said, our charge is very narrow. It has nothing to do with citing. It is simply need and consistency with the plan. The next speaker is Joe Winia.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Good. My name is Joseph Winia, and I just wanted to comment that I don't have any disagreement with the district's conclusion or any opposition to the Rumpke operation, but this request did bring to my awareness that the management plan used for the determination of plan consistency was adopted in 1992 and designed with 20-year estimates. So I just want to express my, concern and interest in making sure that the board is operating, at least with respect to future such decisions, with a more modernized set of standards and criteria, particularly in light of a growing, impending planetary climate crisis, to make sure that we're really targeting accurate waste reduction and management goals as much as possible. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll tackle that and say that as part of our long-term agenda, we do need to address our own management plan. And that is something that both the city and the county can certainly help guide us. Their environmental commissions can be very helpful in this regard. And I hope we will tackle that as a work item in the near future.
All right, thank you.
Bethany Bromashov is the next speaker, please.
Impacted by this new site. And I was under the impression that it was a trash dump site, and I'm glad to hear that it's something different. However, I still have some concerns about, for example, reductions in our residents who live nearby property value, as well as some other potential concerns, which may not actually be relevant to your decision today. So I'm trying to ask the council where would be the appropriate place to voice those concerns where they would be relevant to the decision-making process so that residents can have their voices heard on that matter in an effective way. Thank you.
Thank you. We have members of the Plan Commission on this board. Would Ms. Thomas, would you like to comment?
Sure. I have not yet seen the proposal, so I don't know what the petition looks like, but either this will go to the Plan Commission or it will go to the Board of Zoning Appeals. And when that happens, there will be signage at that location. It will also be advertised. And those are both meetings where the public can provide input. And there'll be multiple opportunities if it's a Plan Commission, and at least one if it's the Board of Zoning Appeals.
Okay, and I had a quick follow-up. Actually, you know what? It just escaped me. So thank you. Yeah, that does help. And I will look for those. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Bromashov. I don't see any other members in the audience. Yes, I do
One
now.
hand just went up.
Ms. Morris, you are next to speak, please.
Yes, this is Erica Morris, and a lot of the resolution today talks about redundancy. With the current site that is just down the road and also the Dillman site, it seems interesting that, both of these are going to be put very close together. And, in terms of a true need, are we really taking what one site we have and really dividing it and splitting it between two companies so that then we're really doubling the truck traffic? And additionally, I feel as though if we wanted to truly limit the truck traffic, shouldn't we work to consolidate the numerous collectors that are going through just one area of the county? Because again, we have that freedom to choose. So I guess I would be interested to hear, your thoughts on that, because while competition is good, I'm not sure that the competition is necessarily driving consolidation or better services. My other question is too, and this is more directed towards Rumpke, is this glass hub designed to be like your Dayton facility where you're going to collect, I believe the Dayton facility is collecting 40,000 tons of glass, which if that's the case, that's quite large. That's much larger than what we're collecting now on a daily basis in Monroe County.
Thank you. I'll first address the the question about redundancy and then ask Mr. Nura to comment about the glass hub. We do have near the proposed facility, the Dillman Road site. That is one of our rural collection sites. And I don't think this would be necessarily redundant, especially if the district and Rumpke would enter into a partnership for the district to operate the public facility at the transfer station as they have offered. And furthermore, that would save us some costs for the district, operating costs. So Mr. Nura, would you comment on the glass hub?
Yes, there you go. Steve, Steve Sargent, he's our director of recycling. You could talk, if you would, address the glass question, please.
Sure, I can address that. Actually, the number is larger than that in Dayton, Ohio. We're going to be bringing in now, this is our beneficiation plant. It's in the industrial section of Dayton. We're going to be bringing in approximately 75,000 tons this year into that facility. And we're looking for at least an additional 1,000 tons a month. So we'd like to have that plant be about 100,000 tons per year of recycled glass coming in. This is a central collection point for Monroe County. Monroe County already currently brings in, looking at the solid waste district's tonnages, around 400 to 500 tons a month, or I'm sorry, a year you generate from Monroe County. We think there's probably, another 300 to 400 tons a year that could come into that facility. We want to reach out to the retail and commercial establishments for glass. And there's a lot of ways to do that very efficiently. We also run these drop-off sites, these depots around several parts of Ohio, north of Dayton. We're looking at one now in Medina, Ohio. We've been to Lexington, Kentucky, but these are small collection points just for those local communities. So that's what this really serves for. It's not a central hub. It doesn't make any sense to bring in 15 to 20 tons of glass and then reload it and take out 15 to 20 tons of glass to Dayton. That's not the purpose of this location.
So just to clarify then, this location is to further feed the Dayton hub. Is that correct?
Absolutely. Yeah, that's correct, Ms. Morris. That's exactly
okay. That makes sense. And then also, I guess this may be more for the solid waste board, but certainly this is a very high level of redundancy. Is this the type of redundancy we currently have in other utilities in our community in terms of, water, electricity, other vital services?
Who would like to take that answer? Mr. McGlasson, would you like to comment?
You can try. And unfortunately, outside of outside of water, the other utilities are run by private companies, and we don't have control over the private sector, and we can't force them to do business somewhere that they don't want to. This was just an opportunity that was presented to us, that would, potentially, allow such redundancy for waste and recycling to exist in the county. But, with regard to, electricity, natural gas, unless somebody comes in and wants to offer that, and unfortunately, I'm not on a utilities board or anything, but there may also be some restrictions or regulations, at the state level about utilities competing with each other. So, best I can answer for that.
Thank you. I didn't have an answer either. Let's turn now to a question. Oh, Ms. Piedmont Smith, you wish to speak?
Well, I just wanted to add that with other utilities, there's a lot of infrastructure, all the pipes, all the electrical wiring, et cetera, with solid waste collection and recycling collection, you're using an infrastructure that already exists, the roads. So it's a little bit different in that respect.
That was a very good point. Thank you. The next speaker is Natalie Blaze.
Hi, I just wanted to say thank you for the opportunity to speak. I received an illegal flyer placed in my mailbox, which I think is an illegal offense, about help stopping the construction of this new garbage facility in our neighborhood. And I just wanted to make sure that I live on Old Capitol Pike, and I just wanted it to be known that my neighbors don't speak for all of us. I think it's a great opportunity. I think recycling is something we all should be required to do. And I just wanted to say thanks.
Thank you. The next speaker is ex-office computer. Please tell us your name, Mr. or Miss Computer.
Hello, is this working?
There we go. Now we got you.
Oh, sorry.
Good.
So I'm John Rickert. I'm new to Monroe County, and something I just didn't think had been addressed is with 2 transfer stations will drive competitive prices, and so I think that will drive more trash or solid waste tonnage to the area, and from the outside sources. So I was wondering if that's been addressed, or if people, what they think about that.
Well, I will comment again that driving greater use coming into the area is not something that has to do with need or consistency of our plan. And that might be something that would be brought up when this proposal is taken to planning for review. So the next commenter is Annalisa Martinez.
Yes, I was just wondering why the council members didn't make this knowledge easily accessible prior to. Like, a lot of community members had no clue, as well as business owners in the area, but this is something y'all are voting on today at an inconvenient time where people are still at work.
I will address that. The proposal was brought to us. We scheduled a review of our requirements under county ordinance and decided that we needed to develop criteria to evaluate need and plan consistency. And so we did that at a public meeting. And this is the meeting that follows the staff's report regarding those criteria. And so all those have followed in sequence. There's going to be multiple opportunities in the future for reviews of this proposal from Rumpke Waste and Recycling. So please don't feel like this is your only opportunity to learn more or to ask questions. Susan Brackney is the next person who wishes to speak.
Can you hear me?
Yes, thank you.
Oh, hi. I noticed that the meeting packet is not available online. I don't know if in the COVID-19 age that it's even harder to get the meeting packet up in the 48 hours ahead of time and all that. But I would say for the person who just had a question just now, looking at those meeting packets that are available online is invaluable when they actually are available. And I would also say, I understand the comment, Mr. McGlasson, that you made, that this is the narrow scope and to tailor your questions accordingly. There are a lot of people I see in this meeting who probably aren't normally here, who have concerns and are frankly quite lost. The list of Plan Commission and Board of Zoning Appeals is helpful. I think, Mr. McGlasson, you might have mentioned the Highway Department and maybe a couple of other departments or boards. If one of you could just list out the other entities that citizens might wish to turn to if they have concerns, questions, it might free up the rest of your day and help these citizens who are waiting and sort of on the fence about, should I ask this? Should I not ask this? Maybe if someone could give a quick digest. And I think most of those entities also have PDF packets that when you click on those, you can see what the developer's plans are, where the area is, maybe how many trees they're going to cut down, how much pavement they're going to put down, whether or not there would need to be an environmental impact study, whether it would affect the watershed, the water quality, all those kinds of things. I realize you're not the body for this, but who would be the body for that for these people on this call? And that's all I wanted to know. Thank you.
Thank you for your question, Ms. Brackney. I will first of all apologize that our packet was not available on the website. And we have had problems in the last month with our website and our ability to post packets there. Mr. McGlasson, do you want to say anything more about that?
Yeah, I can. I also apologize. It's a space issue with our website and something that we've had plans to address and didn't anticipate running into this problem this soon. But we were able to get a note up there that says that if a link's not working or the packet is not available, there's a phone number to call and request, and we would email directly to you that packet if you'll provide us an email address. But we certainly do apologize, and certainly no intent there to try to hide information from people. So, okay. I can, with regard to the rest of the question, as we've kind of indicated, this is the first step in what's quite a lengthy process that goes before a number of bodies. Before Rumpke or anybody wishing to do something like this would get approval to put a facility in. After the vote today, if it were to pass, the resolution were to pass, that then has to be presented to the Board of Commissioners. After that, there's a state permitting process that has to be gone through. Part of that process, and Ms. Thomas alluded to earlier, that when they apply to the state, they have to document that they've gone through the local zoning or planning process and have the proper zoning approvals in place for the facility. There would also be, locally a requirement to get a building permit to construct the facility. The facility also has to be permitted locally by the health department. And in addition, with the state process, once the application is submitted to the state will make notification to all the property owners within a half-a-mile radius of the facility. Written notification to them that the application has been received, and explain to them the process of how to submit public comment and involve yourself in that a permit approval process at the state level.
Thank you. I'll just add further for Ms. Brackney and members of the public. If you are interested in knowing the elected officials and the citizens who serve on the Plan Commission, that information is available on the county website. The commissioners, when they have their consideration of this proposal, assuming it passes today, they will have their packets of information available on the website. And we don't have a space issue for the county website. So there should be no trouble there. So I hope that's helpful. Thank you. The next speaker will be BR. BR, will you tell us your name, please?
Yes, hi, my name is Brian Rhodes. I've heard the word redundancy tossed around here, and I'm just curious as to what the circumstance was that prompted the need for redundancy.
Mr. McGlasson, would you like to address that point?
Well, I don't know that there's been any specific incident, or instance, but my preference would be to not react to something after the fact, but be prepared for that instance should it happen, so that we don't wind up where we have a period of time where there's nowhere for the waste to go.
Thank you. I'm not seeing any members of the public in line to speak, so let's wait a minute on that.
Got one that just came up.
Lindsay, would you wish to speak again?
Hi, thanks. I guess my question with that about the redundancy is, my fear is that by saying, oh, we can use it to let stuff sit in case there's too much somewhere else, then doesn't it become like a de facto place to store trash rather than to move it? So you're saying it's going to move in and out within 24 hours, or, maybe not over the weekend, but that it's moving in and out daily. But if it's a backup for other facilities overfilling, then isn't there a potential that that stops happening for some period that's indefinite? And I guess I'd want to know what the, parameters or rules are around that indefinite period.
State law limits. The waste has to move in and out within 24 hours outside of weekends under state law, I believe. And I don't. Mr. Nura, do you want to add to that or correct me if I'm wrong?
I have Christina Siebert with me. She'll talk a little bit about the operations of the facility, but that's exactly right, Tom. The material will come in and move right out. It won't be a repository or store waste there. Christina, you could talk a little bit about the operations and just, as we look forward to the IDEM permitting and what we do relative to, cleaning the floors and et cetera.
Yeah, the facility, when we talk about the redundancy that it's going to provide, the concern that maybe this would cause material to back up and end up being here for a longer period of time, really this facility will prevent those types of circumstances from arising in the county by giving a second option in case your existing facility down the road would become unavailable or would have some backup of material. This is an overflow possibly, but we still have to comply with those state regulations, and we need to move that material out every day. At the end of the day, we do have to clean the floor. We have to wash down the floor on a routine basis according to the permit. All that wash water gets handled as a sanitary sewer material. So we have to either collect it in a tank or we have to send it in the sewer system. We have to have the proper permits for that. And it's not going to be running off and running out of the building. We're providing all of those protections during the course of the operations. And when we leave the site at the end of the day, there's not waste on the floor. There's no material that's going to be on the site that's available to any vectors that would be accessing the property. We're not going to be leaving that material out, and getting it to the landfill is going to be more efficient in this case than how we're transporting it now in individual truckloads. So we're going to be combining those materials into a single truck and getting it out as quickly as possible, and having access to more than just a single landfill and a single transfer station in doing that.
Yeah, and I might add, Christine, I know you spent a lot of time when we looked at the volume growth in Monroe County. It's Monroe County is a growing county. Over the past handful of years, There's been an increase in 20,000 more tons of waste as you project out down the road. As Tom pointed out, there's going to be continued growth in the community, and you need facilities to service that growth. The other thing is this: the state rules are really promoting a 50% diversion rate, 50% recycling rate, and you really need square footage. You need floor space. You need the ability to manage material aggressively and divert it and recycle it. Our design for the facility it's a floor that will allow us to mine resource-rich waste loads and increase recycling rates within the community, and really help move the community forward towards that high goal of 50% diversion. So it's those elements. It's the growth in the community, and you need capacity for that in the future. And it's really the mandate to increase recycling and drive diversion. And you need floor space, you need baling capacity, you need the ability to do that innovatively and cost effectively. And this facility will deliver that. So thank you.
Thank you. I don't see any further comments from the public. And so I would like to return to board members to see if they have further questions or comments. And I see no hands. In that case, we're ready to have a roll call vote on this resolution. Mr. McGlasson, would you call the roll, please?
Jones? Some of you are muted.
Sorry, I lost my connection and couldn't get unmuted. Yeah.
Jones?
Yes.
Githens?
Yes.
Swafford?
Yes.
Thomas?
Yes.
Munson?
Yes.
Piedmont Smith?
Yes.
Motion passes.
So thank you, everybody who attended and asked questions. I hope you received answers to many of your questions, and for the questions that we could not specifically address, please remember that you have multiple opportunities to ask these questions. For Rumpke Waste and Recycling, thank you for being available to answer the many questions. Ms. Thomas?
Yeah, I just wanted to ask Mr. McGlasson if it's possible for residents who have been watching this and are concerned about this, if it's possible for on the district's website to have an updated list of where things are in the process and what they can do. So in other words, they could see a link to a meeting that they can attend, or somewhere where they can call if they have concerns, or just a tracking of this, because there are so many residents that are concerned. I don't want to just say, hey, go find it for yourself. It would be nice if there's some way to just keep that information on the website for folks.
I'll work with our service provider on that and see what we can do to carve out some space to add that information.
Yeah. Okay. It shouldn't take much space. You can just link to other items. You don't really need to put any documents on. So yeah, that'd be great. Thank you.
But I would like to ask that if the district cannot put up Rumpke's proposal because of its length on our website, perhaps the next stop, the Board of Commissioners, could do this.
Well, the proposal, the original proposal and the associated PowerPoint that were presented at the August board meeting, that packet is available on the website. Okay. I was able to get that one uploaded. That was before we started having our issues.
Right. And is the addendum up there too, Mr. McGlasson?
No, unfortunately, I don't believe the addendum is. I think Mr. Nura has something to say, and I'll check real fast and see what's available on our website.
Mr. Nura?
Yes, and to Ms. Thomas's point, I mean, we want to work with the community, and we want to be available to the community to address any questions they have to get them information. We have resources. We want to be transparent in this process as we move forward. So I think we can set something up, and I don't want to speak for our communications team here, but if you guys are having trouble with the available documents, I think we might be able to set something up where we can request of us and we can provide a port for them to grab those documents. We want to be clear to folks. If there are people that want to visit the site with me and just kind of see the lay of the land, we didn't feature a rendering tonight, but would love to walk around the site with you and just talk a little bit about and get your input. So just want to make sure that you're available. Tom has my contact information. And for those of you who want to reach out to Tom, and he's more than welcome to share it with me. We also have a Facebook page out there that will allow you to kind of comment and get connected with us, where we can address your questions and just kind of meet you where you're at relative to some of the sincere questions you had today. So thank you again, board.
Thank you. That's very helpful. So board members, let us now turn to the next item on our agenda, which is the interlocal cooperation agreement between Monroe County Solid Waste Management District and Monroe County, Indiana, regarding legal services. We have an agreement in the packet that I hope you all have read. And Ms. Githens, I think you shepherded this through the Board of Commissioners and our legal department. Would you like to present information about this?
Oh, sure, thank you. The Solid Waste District has been attempting to reduce costs. We don't want to be running huge deficits every year. And so one of the ways that we're attempting to do that is to ask the legal department of the county to handle legal issues for the Solid Waste District. And what we've proposed here is that there will be a flat monthly fee that'll be paid for those legal services. If there should be an instance where the district feels that it's inappropriate for the county to defend them, it's fine for the district to go for outside counsel. And likewise, if the county feels that there's something that comes up that they feel it would be better handled by outside counsel, they also would bring that to the board. But in essence, this is an attempt to reduce the costs, our legal costs.
So the legal cost that we would be agreeing to is $300 per month.
Correct.
Are there questions from board members? I'm
Smith.
Ms. Piedmont Smith.
Yes, I just wanted to check on item number 6, the appropriation of sufficient funds. I assume that the sufficient funds have already been budgeted for both 2020 and 2021. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
But barring some unforeseen legal expense, we are appropriately funded for the remainder of this year and 2021.
So thank you. Good question. So may we have a motion to bring this forward for approval?
So the process would be that Ms. Munson, you would sign the agreement on behalf of the board?
Yes.
Okay. All right. I move that we authorize board chairperson Cheryl Munson to sign the agreement as presented in our packet regarding legal representation by the Monroe County Legal Department.
Second.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion by board members? I see none. Mr. McGlasson, would you call the roll, please?
Piedmont Smith,
Yes.
Thomas,
Yes.
Jones,
Yes.
Munson,
Yes.
Swafford,
Yes.
Githens.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Our next item is for information only, and that is the Executive Committee meeting minutes from August 3rd, 2020, and that's in your packet, followed by minutes for August 13th, 2020, and that requires board approval. Ms. Piedmont Smith, would you present this, please?
I move approval of the minutes of the August 13th, 2020 Board of Directors meeting.
Second.
We have a second. Is there discussion?
I'm sorry, who was the second? I missed that.
Ms. Thomas,
Thank you.
are there questions or corrections or comments on these minutes? Seeing none, Mr. McGlasson, would you call the roll again, please?
Swafford,
Yes.
Thomas,
Yes.
Githens,
Yes.
Piedmont Smith,
Yes.
Jones,
Yes.
Munson.
Yes,
Motion passes.
thank you. Let's move now to our almost always favorite part of board meetings, and that's the controller's report, where we keep an eye on our costs and the revenues we have. Ms. Hudson, are you ready to present?
I am.
Thank you.
Okay. Our operating balance is at $2,329,291.32. Our bond closure debt is at $13,808.33. The capital is at $45,413.60, and the landfill post closure is at $765,155.88.
Thank you. Any questions for Ms. Hudson? I see none. Let's hear about payroll and claims then.
Okay, we've had pre-approved claims from July the 19th of $181,698.16. Today, we're asking approval of $93,629.78 for a total of $309,917.43.
So thank you.
Just to clarify, that it would be August 19th, not July.
Oh, yes.
Yes. Thank you. Questions for Ms. Hudson? Ms. Piedmont Smith?
Yes, I wanted to ask about the bill from Republic Services and why it's been so high in June and July and August as well.
Scott, can you address that?
Yes. Those are direct fees for services rendered. So we've had a little more hauling this couple months, and the volumes of material have been a little greater. So therefore the fees have been higher. The bill for August was only $29,000. So if you remember correctly, in May, I think it was, we started being charged per ton for recycling, and those fees are now starting to show up, and you're not used to seeing those, but those are now a normal charge. And I anticipate those going kind of down the rest of the year, but there could be a little bit of variation there.
Okay.
Thank you. Yeah, I'd forgotten that this was because of the new contract and paying for the recyclables.
Right. So, thank you. Other questions from the board? May we have a motion for approval?
I move approval of payroll and claims as presented in our packet and with the addendum that was emailed out yesterday.
I second that.
Thank you. Other questions or comments? We'll have a roll call vote, please.
Jones,
Yes.
Piedmont Smith,
Yes.
Githens,
Yes.
Munson,
Yes.
Thomas,
Yes.
Swafford.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. And thank you, Ms. Hudson.
I apologize. I have another engagement I have to go to, so I'm going to leave right now.
Well, you're going to miss an unusual part of one of our meetings, because our next item is a request for appointment to the Citizens Advisory Committee. And
Yeah.
Mr. Joe Winia has requested appointment. That's okay, Dan. We understand. Thank you.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Bye.
Yeah, so this an interest been expressed in joining the CAC from Mr. Winia. You can see the email he sent me expressing his interest, some of his background and why he's interested, and certainly a lot of that aligns with what we do and what we're trying to do. And I would just say that I think that he's a good candidate and appreciate the board's consideration. He is in attendance today. If you would want to allow him to make any statement or comment, it would be the board's pleasure.
Okay. First, let's have a motion to consider this. Ms. Piedmont-Smith.
I move that we approve Joseph Winia as a new member of the CAC.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. I would like to invite Mr. Winia to speak again if he wishes.
Thank you for the opportunity. I do wish to speak again. I really appreciate your motion to appoint me to the committee. I do, as Mr. McClassen mentioned, think it's a great opportunity for me to participate in the operations of helping to improve waste management, provide my assistance and input wherever possible. I definitely welcome any questions that anyone on the board has, and I hope you've all had the opportunity to read my letter of interest, but in short, it pretty much summarizes that I'm deeply moved by the urgent need for dealing with the impending and actually unfolding climate crisis that we have, and I think that this is a good avenue for doing that.
Thank you. Board members, any questions for Mr. Winia? Ms. Githens.
I was looking back at the notes I was taking earlier in the meeting, and I was impressed by the fact that you thought we needed to update our criterion standards for our goals. And so I hope you're ready to get to work.
That's what I'm here for.
That's great. I will just say that the board really appreciates having a Citizens Advisory Committee. And they met last night, and they were, some of them were in attendance at the executive committee meeting, and they have followed this process that we have considered today. So we do involve our citizens, and we're very glad to have them.
Yes, and I am equally glad that you have citizen involvement and that it provides me an avenue for participating. So
Great.
It's mutual.
Any questions? Ms. Piedmont-Smith?
Oh, it wasn't a question. I just wanted to thank Mr. Winia for his, I'm sorry, am I mispronouncing that? It's Winia, isn't it?
It's a funny story, but I go by both. We can talk about that another time.
Anyway, thank you to Joe for volunteering for this. It is really important for us to hear from citizens, and this is a great avenue to have their input. And as Ms. Gibbons mentioned, we're going to need all the help we can get to update our 28-year-old waste management plan. I was quite shocked to realize it's that old, but
Yes.
we're working on that in the coming years. So thank you for volunteering.
Indeed, and thank you as well, actually, for the recommendation, which is how I learned about it. So once again, a very positive mutual exchange.
So for the public who is interested in our variably out-of-date solid waste management plan, It is on the district's website, and I hope people will be looking at that in the future. Thank you.
Yes, it's under public info.
Yes, thanks. That's good. So we are ready to have a roll call vote since there are no other comments or questions.
Thomas,
Yes.
Jones,
Yes.
Piedmont Smith,
Yes.
Mr. Swafford has exited. Githens,
Yes.
Munson.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you and welcome, Mr. Winia.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
We have several department reports to hear next. Mr. McGlasson, would you begin?
I can. Quickly, first, I like the third bullet point of my report would want to make sure everybody is aware that we do now have our food waste collection bins available at all 5 of the recycling centers. And just a reminder to the public, this is something we're doing in partnership with Green Camino, and it's their service. We're providing them the space to place some centralized collection bins for the convenience of their customers. It is a subscription-based service through Green Camino, and would need to contact Green Camino to talk with them about how to subscribe and gain access to the containers. That information for Green Camino, you can search them on the web. It's on our Facebook page. And I don't recall if it's on our website or not. I apologize. But you can always also call 812-349-2020 to get contact information for them. Secondly, need to make an update or a correction. The second bullet point regarding the budget approval process by the county council. They have had to make some changes due to advertising constraints to that schedule. We're now scheduled for the public hearing instead of September 29th, will be October the 6th. And the first reading will be on Monday, October the 29th. And the second reading and hopefully adoption will be on Tuesday, October the 13th. And yes, Connie, that's changed from the last time you talked to the auditor's office.
Wait, that must be Tuesday, October 30th, right?
Yeah.
October 19th and 20th.
What?
They do the first reading and the second readings back to back. They have the public hearing October the 1st, or I'm sorry, October 6th. And then the first reading is scheduled for Monday the 19th, and the second reading for Tuesday, October the 20th. That was the schedule, and Ms. Munson can correct me if I'm wrong, but that was the schedule adopted by the county council at their meeting work session last night. You're muted.
We had to make a change, and that's what we chose. So I hope that's convenient for everybody.
Thank you to my county colleagues for seeing that through.
With that, be happy to answer any questions.
I'm not seeing any questions, Mr. McGlasson.
Okay. I believe Mr. Morgan would be next.
I just want to mention that the city of Bloomington is having a neighborhood cleanup on the 26th of September, and the district was able to provide them with the hazmat portion of training for their cleanup, and that is we trained 5 people, I believe it was, in total. So we've got them training, and we got them good and safe for this weekend. So wish them the best.
Good.
Which neighborhood is that?
You would have to ask me that. I can tell you it was an older neighborhood, is all I can recall,
Okay, I can find out.
but it's Saturday.
Thank you. Anything else, Mr. Morgan?
No, that covers it.
Okay. Mr. Paulson would be next then. Mr.
Lenny, you're
Paulson
muted.
needs to be unmuted.
Yeah, he had to unmute me. The only thing I would bring up was that, other than what's in the report, is that the May groundwater report was finalized and all put together and sent off to item in an appropriate time. There's nothing really out of line from the past couple sampling events that would raise any flags or anything like that. So everything is looking pretty good with that stuff.
Any questions for Mr. Paulson? Thank you, Mr. Paulson.
If I could real fast, I would like to congratulate Mr. Paulson on we finally found an algae treatment for our leachate pond that the state agreed to, which will hopefully help us keep that under control and limit the amount of hauling we have to do as we wait for the algae to die off naturally.
Yes,
So-
that was it's been several years and several different people, but it's finally got approved, and we're 2 treatments into a 3 treatment cycle, and next Monday is the third treatment, and everything is looking very good. The algae is dying off and mostly died off, so this would allow us to treat when it does happen. Hopefully not for a while yet, but hopefully more appropriate, sooner than December, January, when the algae dies off because the water gets cold. So this is a huge bonus for us and a very positive step. So I'm very grateful that the state has worked with us for this.
So I would like to ask, is that a chemical treatment or a biological application?
It's a chemical treatment that is approved through the state, that the state uses this product extensively, not extensively, but in huge quantities throughout their facilities, fish hatcheries, and various waterways that the state manages.
Good, thank you. So our next agenda item has to do with scheduling our next meeting, which is scheduled on our approved schedule for October 8th, which is 2 weeks hence. And I think district staff and others are concerned that we really will not have enough business for that meeting. And we may wish to postpone until the November meeting. Are there comments?
I would also add that, given the schedule of it, that means that the executive committee meeting to approve that agenda would be this coming Monday. And I don't know that staff is going to have minutes from this meeting turned around to get that packet out Friday.
Okay. So are there, we don't have a motion ready for this, but are there questions from board members?
So staff doesn't see any downside to skipping the October meeting and going to our November meeting?
No, historically, October is a light agenda, and this year nothing pressing that I can foresee that could not hold off until the regular November meeting.
Right.
And could you remind us, please, what the date is of the November meeting? I don't seem to have it on my calendar. I'm sorry.
That is November 12th.
The 12th, yes.
Thank you. November 12th, 4 p.m.
Ms. Piedmont Smith, would you be willing to offer a motion for us?
Yes, I move that we cancel both the next executive committee meeting and the next board meeting.
Second.
I guess that's it.
That's great.
Second.
Thank you. So we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Let us have a roll call vote, please.
Githens,
Yes.
Munson,
Yes.
Jones,
Yes.
Thomas.
Thomas may have left.
Okay. Piedmont Smith.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you.
And then just to clarify for the board and any public in attendance and watching, that would mean that the next executive committee meeting would be on Monday, November the 2nd, and the next board meeting on Thursday, November the 12th.
Got it. Thank you. Okay. So we're ready to wrap up our meeting with comments from directors, if there are any. And I see a whole rash of hands. No, I see Ms. Piedmont Smith.
I just wanted to thank Mr. McGlasson and the rest of the staff for working on the needs determination for the Rumpke proposal. I think it took a whole lot of time and effort to get all the data together. So I really appreciate that.
I will echo that and say I hope that data collection helps us move toward an updated management plan as well. So it may doubly serve us. I'd like to thank our Technical Services Department of Monroe County Government for assisting our Zoom meetings and setting things up. And also to thank CATS for their continuing service of broadcasting these to the public. So thank you, everybody. This meeting, Ms. Githens.
I just wanted to point out, when we talked earlier about redundancy, that at the time that the original plan was written, there was redundancy because we had a landfill in addition to the solid waste transfer station. And so bringing in another transfer station basically replaces the redundancy that we used to have.
I wish we'd thought of that earlier, but thank you for bringing that up. So if there's nothing further, we are adjourned. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.